So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Matt Hancock getting absolutely cooked over these committee hearings. Apparently, Boris Johnson's up very soon. He might have gone up by the time you've seen this video, and this is just—it's just an embarrassing sequence from Matt Hancock. Word salad, absolute nonsense. So yeah, you know, the people who are doing these inquiries are doing a phenomenal job.
SAGE outcomes were reported to me by Professor Whitty.
Did you not read the minutes?
Later in the pandemic, I took the minutes directly, but at this early stage, I was given a readout from Professor Whitty.
Did anybody know that the Secretary of State for Health was not reading the minutes day in, day out from the sole Scientific Advisory Committee on Emergencies?
I don't know.
Surely you should be reading the minutes of the meeting. Surely, like, if this is our top scientific community, a top scientific group, you should be reading exactly what they're saying and trying to go from there, or being in the room as well and discussing things with them to figure out what policy should be, considering they are the experts and you are not.
The evidence before this inquiry, Mr. Hancock, is that the minutes were deliberately consensus-driven and short. They were quite short.
Yeah.
To enable them to be read by Cabinet Office, DHSC, Civil Contingency Secretariat, Number 10, and so on. But they weren't read by you.
They certainly were when they were presented to me, and they were and they came up and they were reported to me by the CMO, and this is my understanding of the situation at the time.
Can I press you, please, to help us with when you first regularly started being presented with and reading?
I asked for them at some point in February to be regularly put in my box alongside being. But the formal process was not that. I mean, we can come on to this because I've got quite a lot of thoughts about how this interaction operated, and it's very, very important. With hindsight, I think I should have gone and listened directly to the debate in SAGE. I don't think that would have queered the pitch. But the process of SAGE was that SAGE was a committee that, remember, at this point did not have the sort of nationally known significance that it does now.
But they should have been known to you. SAGE were known to you. Like, it doesn't make sense, you know, the majority of the country wouldn't know what COBRA meetings are. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't take away from their importance. There's this argument of no one knew who, you know, no one really knew who SAGE were at the time. You know, they didn't have the kind of national kind of prestige, I guess, they do now. Or obviously not, because we didn't go through a pandemic. Come on, big man. These answers are pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
It was a group of scientists who came together to make recommendations and bring the science to the CSO and the CMO.
And to you, obviously. So you could look at their guidance and go from there. That was kind of the point. That's why you have these kind of committees, so that they can advise government ministers. That's the point of them. And you were the government minister at the time.
Regardless of their public prominence, Mr. Hancock, the position is that SAGE was the sole body providing science on the characteristics of the virus, what it amounted to, what the threat was, what in theory could be done, and the minutes from that body, which were being produced on a tri-weekly basis, were not, you say, being put before the Secretary of State responsible for public health.
Not in the first instance until I asked for them, but also the premise of your question is not correct. They were not the sole and only body. They had subcommittees like SPIAM, there was NERVTAG, which reported formally into the department, and of course there was a much wider body of publicly debated scientific advice.
But SAGE were the top body. Like, he's being pedantic here, saying, oh, well, there were actually other groups that were doing stuff. Is like, did you take the minutes from them then? Were you in those meetings? Did you actually listen to what they were saying? Or were you too busy being kissy-kissy?
SAGE was an important body, but I think that it would be wrong to fetishise the existence of and the role of SAGE.
Was there another scientific body concerned with emergencies for the United Kingdom government?
Yes, NERVTAG, for instance.
NERVTAG was a DHSC subcommittee which reported on new and emerging viral threats, an advisory group reporting to DHSC. What other scientific emergency body provided advice to the United Kingdom government?
As I said, NERVTAG did to me through JVT,
He's just kind of word salad, can't really defend himself here. This is where it gets worse.
Weren't you meant to be following the science?
No.
I remember they kept saying we were following the science. That's what their whole thing was. And it turns out he was not.
I was meant to be guided by the science. That was my whole approach.
It was not, because she kept saying we are following the science. No, we are being guided by the science. Or I'm just ignoring the science.
Guided by the science, but if I thought, as I thought on this, that it wouldn't work, then I would take another decision.
Who are you to take another decision? Like, bro, these people are scientists. These people are, who are experts in illnesses. in infections and things like that, and you're like, if I disagreed with their approach, I would take another approach. Like, there's complete stupidity. Like, the whole government was so disjointed at this point, where Matt Hancock didn't know about the Eat Out to Help Out scheme until the day before it was set to go live. Like, this government was completely disjointed, no idea what the hell they were doing or what their other colleagues were doing. It's madness.
Improve on the glorious words of Professor Sir Jonathan Van Tam, who says in his
This one's particularly damning
statement, "My view is a ring is a circle without a break in it." However you describe the protective processes you put in place around the care sector, they did not form an unbroken circle, did they?
It is quite clear from the evidence that Professor Van Tam is right.
Yeah, thank you.
So there was no protective ring around care homes. Is anyone surprised by that? Honestly, we knew it at the time, and for him to finally admit it, you know, I don't know if the families can try and prosecute him or anything, if anyone can prosecute him for this, but it was so brazen, the lie, saying, you know, we put a protective ring around care homes. Like, I think a quarter of the elderly deaths were in care homes, because COVID just ran through it and there was no care. You know, they put people that had COVID back into their care homes, and it was just a nightmare. And I can't imagine if you had one of your family members in one of these homes and they had suffered or died from COVID. I can't imagine how you'd feel. We saw a similar situation in New York where you had COVID positive patients being sent back into care homes, and it's like, why would you do that? That's the most stupid thing you could do. It's the most stupid thing you could do. Why would you send the illness that was most likely going to affect older people and immunocompromised people, which, you know, typically older people are? Why would you send COVID positive patients back into those areas? And I'll tell you the reason is because there weren't enough hospital beds, because this lot cut them. Because all they want is maximum efficiency. But when you actually need slack in the system, there is none. And people suffered because of it. Honestly, it's just a complete disaster. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.